work on today, or I mean, we're going to still do this similar meditation, but I wanted to, again, I think everybody took this either last week or either recorded, but just really briefly touch in on kind of our guidelines for practice, to remember to honor your level. So it's okay if some of the things don't make sense or don't land, that's a completely common experience, and that it's going to land differently for different people, and wherever it lands for you is great. That the practice requires building a skill. So if things don't work immediately, it's a continual level practice, and that we just keep working towards it, and it will to reveal more and more the more that you do it. To trust yourself, which already kind of tapped in on that a little bit, that everyone's experience is their own and is valid also. And then on safety, to remember the idea of titrating or pendulating, that we, and all that simply means is that when we meet something that feels really potent, that we don't have to go full in on it. And actually what's kind of nice about this work is that it doesn't let you. Like if you, or at least that's my experience of it, you can try and use like brute force to like focus in on a thing, but your body doesn't want to release it if you're using that kind of force. That being said, though, if you do get upset, which is where we're going to talk next, the idea of tapping in on something and coming out, touching it and coming out, that's the practice that we use when we're working with something that feels really painful, or feels upsetting to us, that we don't just try and jump right into it. And then always knowing to take care of yourself, that if it becomes upsetting, that you just come out and you go and do something that feels nourishing for you, and that's okay. And last week we talked about the idea of anchoring. And so using the breath or a place of your body, if it feels kind of overwhelming, you just come back to your hands at your heart, or you come back to your inhale and your exhale and follow that. So I wanted to bring up the window of tolerance, and this is a term that was coined by Dan Siegel. But it basically talks about the nervous system theory, and all the science behind it is really fun and exciting, but you don't need to know, it's not anything that you need to know about, but I'm kind of using these words. So if it feels interesting, you can, research it more. But basically it's just like, we are either up or we're down. And then there's a place in the middle where learning and thinking and mindfulness works. When we're over escalated or in an up situation, or hyper arousal situation, what that feels like in the body, it can feel like anxiety. It can feel like literal like shakiness. It can feel like I'm feeling really like angry out of like nowhere, like you're about to like blow your lid and punch somebody in the face. It can feel like you want to like run, like you're like, get me the fuck out of here. Like you want to escape immediately. Like that's an over escalated experience. Insomnia, an inability to focus where you just kind of can't stay with the thing that you're doing. Really quick speaking, or any kind of extreme, kind of really big emotional experience, like big outlet of crying, big outlet of frustration. Those are kind of up escalated feelings. And then on the other side of that, and when we get these, when something pushes us outside of our, we're using the word window of tolerance, but it's really outside of where we're emotionally comfortable, right? Where we are able to stay in connection with our body, stay in connection with our frontal lobe and our ability to think through something. And so sometimes when that happens, we can go onto the downside, or hypo arousal. And what that looks like is kind of what you would expect. It's the opposite. So like kind of extreme tiredness or sleepiness, like you could just like cannot get motivated to do anything, a lack of motivation to do anything. It could be like delayed responses, like when someone's talking to you and you kind of like can't fully respond back very easily. Or I get a lot of down, so I'm like, this is like the zone that I live in. A shutting down or a withdrawal. So if you've ever been in an experience where you just kind of feel like something's happening and you can feel yourself just going inside yourself, that's that withdrawal or shutting down feeling. And then kind of on the farther end of the spectrum would be disassociation, where you actually kind of like exit and leave out of your body. Really slow breathing, and then feeling like an inability to connect. So an inability to feel like you're connected emotionally to anyone, to yourself, to your partners, to your family, to your friends. That inability to connect is kind of the symptom of that. And so the idea behind this theory is that what we want to sort of live in is the place in the middle for most of the time. We don't want to negate our nervous system because it's there for a purpose, but we want to be able to broaden and expand that middle window so that when things come into our lives, which they do, which stuff happens, that we're able to tolerate and stay in that place, that we're able to be in our body, be mindful, process our emotions, have connection with other people, use our frontal lobe and think things through. And one of the ways that we do that is learning to bring ourselves back out. Well, one of the ways, first, what we want to do is learn how to bring ourselves out of those over or under escalated experiences. So when you're at the top end, you're wanting to practice things that bring you down. And so these are all the things that we do in yoga: breath work, meditation, restorative yoga, a walking meditation. There's a lot of stuff on de-escalation, on pressing. So pushing into something or something pushing into you. So like weighted blankets, or like if you've ever taken class with me and I've told you to put stuff on top of yourself, like the bolsters or the sandbags, when you put those on, that's actually a de-escalation technique for your nervous system. And these are things that you can do at home. And I know for myself, for many, many people right now in this moment, the window of tolerance, normally we're all here, we're all kind of like here. My ability to stay in my window is much smaller. So something that normally wouldn't piss me off is like freaking me out, you know? And so having some of these skills, just kind of picking one or two that really work for yourself. My favorite one is neck flexion. So taking your chin towards your chest is a de-escalation technique. And then emotional freedom technique, which I'm going to teach you guys on Saturday. If you want to sign up for that class, I'm going to teach EFT and a basic routine with that. And then on the other side, on the low end side, if you are down, which I have also experienced on my short little window during this moment in history, where we're sort of struggling to get out of bed, pulling ourselves like this, you know, is the things that feel the hardest. Exercise, cardio, getting your heart rate up in some way. So you're warm and you're sweaty, like that movement of blood. My favorite way to do that is dancing, because it doesn't feel like I'm exercising. And so putting on your like absolute favorite dance party song, and you don't have to exercise for like a long time. This isn't like exercise for like a cardio workout. It's exercise to help your nervous system. So really even like one or two dance party songs makes a big difference, and can shift you out of that mode really quickly. And then my other favorite one is singing really loudly to like pop music. So if you can combo the dance and the singing, it's like because there is energetically, and then also there's the vagal nerve that's here, but so the sciencey answer is the vagal nerve, but on the energy answer is that your channel gets blocked off here. And so when we sing, we open that channel, and then the flow of chi can move up and down. So if you're dance partying and singing And not just singing like a little bit, but like sing loud, like yell sing, like where you like belt it out. So talking, and then socializing. And I know that socializing is really hard right now, which is why I think a lot of our windows are really small. So calling someone or doing some sort of FaceTime with somebody so that you connect in a way. And then the purpose of the practice that we're doing, one of the purposes, there are many purposes of the practice that we're doing, is to learn to widen our window. How do we widen this window? We do it by having an experience of something that normally would push us out of our window and being able to stay with it and tolerate it, like the ideal window of tolerance, stay with it and tolerate it, and it slowly builds the window to be bigger and bigger. And so the more that we practice that, touching in on something that feels like it would push us out of our window of tolerance, and then being able to stay with it and speak with it and build a relationship with it, allows that thing to have less power over us. And so there's an aspect of Chode meditation, which is a Tibetan Buddhist meditation. And they take the things, there's a wonderful book about it called Feeding Your Demons, if you want to look more into it. But the basic premise is that you take these painful things inside you, that they're laboring demons, you pull them out of you, you create a relationship with them, and you turn them into an ally. And when we do that, part of this meditation practice that we're working on in this class, when we do that, the thing, like today, mine that I worked with, when I asked it what its name was, it said, "I'm mad. That's my name." So I was like, okay, mad, right? And so when I work with it, it shifts itself. It remains mad. It remains that feeling. Anger in and of itself is not a bad feeling. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's the relationship to that feeling and how it pushes us over the edge, right? Or blows us up. But if we can create an allyship with it, if we can create a reason, an understanding why it's there, then it enables us to have, it shifts, for me, my mad shifts from being something that is literally making me mad to something that is this beautiful reminder that I need some protection right now, that I've pushed myself too far into an overwhelm, and that it's here to remind me, like, hey, that's a little too much. And so instead of my mad being just mad, my mad is my protector, and that changes my relationship with it. So then when I feel that way, instead of maybe, it's a work in progress, as we all are. So then maybe the next time I feel mad, I remember this allyship, and I can bring myself back into that place of gratitude and be able to do the work that I need to do to not put myself into a position that I feel like I'm overwhelmed in the first place. Does that make sense? So as a reminder, I feel like my acronym is like so fun. BN it. I'm just like so nerdy. So the B is for being. So we start by being in our body, being in the room, grounding in our breath. It's a place to find your anchor. The N is for naming and needs. So we try and figure out what its name is and what it needs. The I is for information. So we're curious. We practice curiosity. And then the T is for thanking. So we're practicing gratitude, coming up with a relationship, a reason why this is there, and then basking in that relationship once we found out what it is. And I wanted to point out, this is the last thing and then we're going to start, that there's a way in which you have to hold the thing that is so soft and gentle, yet so saturated with your attention, that skill alone has healing potency in it. So when we encounter something within ourselves, if we go into it, the teaching that I use is it's not looking away, and it's not focusing in on it either. It's somewhere in between, right? So we're not like using our third eye and going in like this, and we're not paying attention. The reference I use is, how do we look at a sunset on the edge of the beach? We don't look at the sunset like this, and we don't look at the sunset like this. We lean back into ourselves and we hold the view, right? We keep our attention and we hold the view really wide. And so I think of it as like in my hands, because we use our hands, it's like as if you would hold like a baby chick, like just like the sweetest thing, and you'd be like, ooh. You wouldn't be like, oh, you know, and you wouldn't be like, what? It's like this preciousness that we hold it in. And so that's what we're seeking to cultivate in our attention with ourselves. Yeah. And then like last time, I will kind of talk us out of an exit, but you're allowed to pause your video or end the meeting early if you're like, I need to lay here longer. Just feel free to do that. And I won't do like a big goodbye up here. I'll just kind of be like, bye, and end the meeting so that we can kind of keep ourselves in that soft space. Yeah? Okay. You can hold two spaces at once. You can learn to practice to hold, an infinite amount of spaces at the same time. It's a skill building practice to do that. However, there's usually one that it's almost like it's my turn in the line. It almost feels like it's like the one that's like shown up. It's like, no, you had last time, I'm here. And so what I do when I kind of have two like sensations in my body that feel like they're kind of competing for my attention, I would put like, which happened to me today when I did this. I had one hand on my neck here, and then I had another one over here, and they were both pretty intense. But then eventually one made itself clear that it was the one that was its turn. And how that might feel is through sensation. I find that if I'm in that moment where I'm having a hard time deciding, what I do is I back myself out even wider so I can sort of see broader in myself. I kind of soften my like focus on the two, and I let myself be wider, and then it usually becomes clear which one is talking a little bit more loud. And then if that doesn't work, I would just simply say like, I hear you both. I'm going to choose this one for now. I promise I'll be back. Right? And just let that other part know that you're going to come back to it. And then that usually helps to kind of soothe it for a moment. And if it doesn't, then you might know that you maybe need to choose the other one. Does that help? Yeah. Okay. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate it. Does anybody else want to ask anything before we start? Okay. And you can always email me. I'm available. Just let me know. I'm here to help. This is like my absolute favorite thing in the whole entire universe to do, aside actually doing it in person when I actually get to touch you. That's actually my most favorite. One day it'll happen. Okay, so get yourself set up in your little nappy nap position, and then remember to have a couple pillows for your elbows so that you have a way to support yourself. And just take some time to set yourself up so that you're comfortable. And remember that you're always allowed to move, right? So that you're not, you don't feel like you're trapped in a position. If you get in and you're kind of not comfortable, it's okay to get up and just grab another pillow or something so that you are comfortable. It's actually better to just stop and adjust than to try and tolerate a physical discomfort, because that physical discomfort can interrupt the process. And then again, if you have any like soft music that makes you feel supported, Nothing with words. With something drony in the background, you can always have that on. And then we'll start with the hands on the upper ribs. So just kind of, well, I guess they're not the upper ribs, they're the lower ribs, but just below the chest. So your fingertips are kind of in towards the solar plexus or towards the stomach, and the hands are on either sides of the ribs. And we're just starting there for a few moments. Some of you might move immediately or pretty quickly, but we're going to start there for our grounding. Once you settle in, letting the eyes close. And just noticing the support around you, the comfort of the floor and the props underneath you or wherever you're laying. Notice the body needing those supports. Let's take some deep inhales and long exhales here and connect with our breath. So letting the inhale come in through the nose. And find a long exhale out through the mouth. And just doing that a few more times. This breath is a good de-escalating breath. So anytime you feel kind of up, this long exhale out through the mouth, especially with noise, helps to relax the body. Maybe after that next exhale out through the mouth, just allowing the breath to be natural in and out through the nose. And that breath that we practice with the exhale out through the mouth can be a grounding breath for you to return to and anchoring if you need. You notice the hands. They rest on the body. And the sensation of the inhale lifting, pressing into the hands. And the sensation of the exhale. And take a few more like that, just starting to ground the body. See if you can keep your focus on your breath. You might even use the words inhale and then exhale. The mind wanders off in the most sweet, loving way, like how you help teach a puppy or a small child. Look at you wandering off. Come on back. And feeling that breath. Feeling the body press into the hands. And with the exhale, the hands fall into the body. And starting here, cultivating that practice of being able to have a wide witnessing perspective, To be able to both feel the hands, feel the body, and watch the breath all at the same time. And this can be where you stay and you practice witnessing and being with yourself. As we might start to expand our witnessing to take in more of the body, to be with wider perspective of ourselves. And just start to notice what's there. And some of you might have places that call out to you right away. It's a part of you that's been waiting in a long line. It's finally its turn. And so if you have that experience, you're welcome to move your hands to that place. If something hasn't quite jumped out at you yet, just continuing to have that wider perspective, feel into the body. Sometimes what that looks like in terms of what it feels like to have something jump or raise its hand, metaphorically. Sometimes it feels like tingling, almost like falling asleep, kind of pins and needles. Sometimes it feels like tension, like bound up, like as if there's a density there. Sometimes it feels like bubbles or like literal movement in the body. And whatever it feels like, there's a sense of magnetism. It's almost as if it pulls you towards it. And so if you're still having a hard time finding a place, you want to bring to mind, not go down the whole story or think about everything that everybody said, but just bring to mind the last thing that kind of was up for you. Last thing that ticked your box. Something maybe you were worrying about, or something that maybe upset you, or something you felt sad about. Something maybe you felt nervous about. Just bring it to mind for just a split moment, just to call the emotion back in. And then soften around the story and go back into observing the body. And seeing if there's any place where that lives. If you found your place, you're adjusting your props to make sure that your hands can rest there comfortably. Remember that this process isn't one that needs to be hurried or rushed. It's okay to take your time to adjust and get comfortable. Mm. And so we're either practicing in a specific place. In the first place, the first part of that practice is to just be with it, that specific place. And if we're practicing in a wider perspective and still sort of seeking and being with ourselves, that we can stay in that wider perspective. As with your hands on the place that you've chosen to work. It's both physical and subtle, so notice the feeling of the body and the hands meeting. And what we might be looking for and feeling is sometimes it's like catching a wave. There is this kind of side to side, very, very small, very, very subtle movement. Sometimes it's not exactly side to side, sometimes it's more of like a spinning. It usually begins with some kind of fluid, almost like water-like, wave-like motion. And it's okay if you don't quite feel that yet, that's okay. Just notice whatever it is that you do feel. And you stay with your hands against your body. Notice if you've gone looking, or if there's a lot of efforting. Can you stay with this place and just soften a little bit? Let yourself step back on the edge of the beach. Take in the whole horizon of this place. So without looking, we witness and then follow. We see without looking. We hold very gently. Sometimes the spot moves, and if it's pulling you and moving you in a different place, it'll feel kind of like a magnet pulling you across to a different place. It's okay to follow it. Sometimes it stays very still, it's very small in one focused point. This is this training of the muscle to undo. training the mind to not need to do anything, but to just simply allow to be. Next step, when you're ready, is just beginning the conversation, starting with a little introduction, saying, hey, who are you? Sometimes the name is an emotion or something really concrete like that. Sometimes the name is something really wild. All of it's good. Oh, it's okay. And keeping with that wide perspective. Once you've introduced yourself, get a little bit more curious. Super, super receptive. You let it know you are allowed to be here. I welcome you here. Or any words that make sense to you in that meaning, you are welcome here. I'm listening. What do you need? And as we listen from that same sense of abideness. Let yourself back up really far. The way these parts communicate aren't always in the same direct mind thinking way, but more of like a block of information. So you have to get real wide to be able to take in the block. Sometimes comes as pictures or vision or maybe just a feeling, like a knowing, without there necessarily being a words. You can get curious still. What would you like me to know? What do you have to share? What do you need? You are welcome here. Really gentle, sacred holding. Just notice any movement. The body feels like it needs to twitch or shake a little, or if it's doing it, it's on its own. Don't try and stop that, just letting that happen, but that's part of it. Knowing that the physical sensations have information for us too. And if you find yourself stuck, like you're trying to open up a really hard pickle jar, you want to back up real far. Just let it have space. Oh, I'll give you space. I see that you need that. And remember to breathe. And as you drop back a little farther still. I'm here. I'm listening. What would you like me to know? Remember, even if there isn't a specific story or a need or just simply being with it is enough. Just letting it exist. Complete surrender and allowing. And a few more moments like this. Listening, being. Soft, soft holding. In a very gentle and easeful, non-rushing way. We want to thank this part of ourselves. What is it teaching you? What has it reminded you of that maybe you forgot for a moment? How is this part of you an ally? What does it help serve? How does it serve your learning, your growth? Be specific. And thank it for its contribution. Thank it for its support. Making a commitment. Commitment to that part that you want to be in relationship with it. And that you are ready to listen, to continue to check in. And you're grateful for its support, for its reminders, for its teaching. And then when the time feels right, through the energy of your hands, you might call in any guides or spirits that you work with. You might think of a specific color might come to mind. Otherwise, like iridescent white light includes all colors. You might be able to feel it start to gather at the palms, moves from the heart, and down each arm, and gathers like swirling balls of light. And there are chakras at the ends of the hands and palms of the hands. And from the hands, we just saturate this entire area with this loving, compassionate being. And you can just feel this whole area. Every cell is permeated. Most deeply loving, understanding, compassionate. Energy just soaking in you, supported by the divine current, supported by your spirit guides, supported by the infinite wisdom within you. And saturating this whole area of gratitude. And a welcoming, so welcoming love. And you too, there's space here for you. And come on in. And again, it's still from that place of wide perspective. It's not trying to push energy out. It's just simply allowing it to be filled within you. Then any quality that it had communicated that it needed, saturate this area with that quality. And as you're ready, we'll take our hands. You don't need to move quickly, so you're still saturating the area that you're working on. It's okay to just take your time. And as you're ready, though, you take the hands to the back side of the head, with one just stacked on top of the other. So one is kind of the low base of the skull, and the other one's on top of that, like closer to the crown. So both hands are touching the head. One is at the lower part of the skull, and the other one is kind of on the back side of the head, towards the above the ridge of the skull. And from those hands, again, not pushing, not efforting, just like allowing this radiant light to fill the space of the cranium, letting the cranium itself rest back, letting the mind get real wide. It doesn't need to focus on anything at all. Just knowing that, asking for that support of light, that happens. The jaw soften, the forehead relax. As you're ready, take the hands so that the palm is over the eyes. The base of the palm rests kind of on the cheekbones. The fingertips point upward. It's really letting the eyes receive this healing light and letting them rest back. Let go of any efforting, any looking. And then over the ears. So I won't actually touch my ears so that you guys can still hear me, but you can rest your hands over your ears with the base of the palm rests just below the earlobe, and then the fingertips are above. And feeling the space, the way that we listen. But it being really soft, and kind of listening that allows, kind of listening that is spacious, that listens for the purpose of listening, not for doing. And then you take the hands towards the neck, and the palms are kind of on either side of the neck with the fingertips gently wrapped around towards the back. The elbows point down. The palms don't need to touch on the front side of the throat. It feels comfortable. It should feel comfortable and easeful to have the hands there. This throat center being a gateway in our energy channel, sending that iridescent, or if you had a different color you were working with, energy in and through the throat. Just keeping this area clear, open, so that all the parts of you are able to be seen and heard, respected and cared for and nourished. And trusting that just with the simple, gentle intention of sending it love and light, openness, just with the intention that it does. You don't need to do anything other than have that intention. Slowly take the hands to the heart center and you can let one rest on top of the other. You might be able to feel the heart center fill up with that iridescent light. Be able to feel it move through the entire depth of the body and towards the back body. And just having this intention of allowing the feeling heart to be present, to move from that space of deep connected integrity and wisdom, letting her voice be heard, knowing that how you feel matters, and that it's okay to give her space. And sending her compassionate, loving, light-filled energy. And as you're ready, let the hands come so that the palms face up. So that might mean that you need to move some of your props out of the way so that you're comfortable. And it's okay to have the hands be under a blanket, but just so that the hands are along the side of the body with the palms facing up. And here, this is this mudra, this position where you imagine yourself just completely resting back with the light centers of the hands, that they are just letting them be bathed and saturated by the light of the divine in this position of surrender and acceptance. So it's both a receiving and a letting go. And anything that is no longer useful for you, that it is being recycled within you, being transitioned into an allyship, into a relationship. It supports your growth, supports your wisdom. So you might feel this as like a moving outward of the hands, of a giving over. You might feel this as the hands receiving weight, almost as if they're taking in. You might be able to feel both those things. All of the above is great. And again, just remembering that the intention here is what works. You might feel like this is a good position for you and it's comfortable. And then you can slowly lessen any awareness or efforting at all. And allow yourself to just simply rest back. If you need to adjust your physical position, it's okay to adjust so that we spend a few moments resting and just kind of letting the whole thing integrate into the body. And letting go of any effort. And simply resting. If there's anything that comes up, needs to move through you, trying not to stop it, just allowing. And if you need to sleep or rest or stay here for a long time, that's okay too. And if you feel up or anxious, come back to your breath. And we'll just be here together for a few moments in quietude. And so if you feel like coming up is a good idea, just remember to take your time. Allow yourself to have really gentle movements. If you feel like resting here is going to be better service to you right now, it's okay to just go ahead and turn your device off or close your computer, leave the meeting and continue to rest for as long as you need to. If you're choosing to exit, any intuitive movement that feels good in your body. Allow yourself to take your time to come out. While you're still on your back, you might blink your eyes open and closed a few times to let the light in slowly. Just sort of taking in your surroundings. Finding some deeper inhales and exhales, and eventually coming to your side body. Pause there. Slowly press ourselves up to a seat. Thank you, loves. I'll see you later. Please email me. Let me know if you need anything. I love you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day.